Again, everyone, this is Mr. 13 Thinks talking to you once again about Khan Academy's tremendously powerful practice application or practice exercise development application. And I'm going to go through just the second one in the series. The first one, and these are all in addition to the kind of format that's being done already and shared out on Khan Academy that are all targeting math. Looking down the pike, you're going to see there's a number of other exercises that come along, but I'm trying to go about this in a way that shows people how quickly empowered they can be, instructors or parents, to making their own little tests, quizzes, etc., because of the data that it can collect. And also because the ability to kind of marry what Khan is doing out there with their kind of very gazetted and very cool open source, but the fact that they're approaching the math and putting the science to the second burner, which will come quickly. But many of us realize that we've got to have the math and the science, or we believe that the math and the science have to be intertwined. I don't think there's really a difference there either. It's how funding flows, I presume. Checklists. All right, so here's what we got. I'm going to take you once again, like I did the first time, through a basic exercise. Once again, I'm going to point out that this is not running off a Khan Academy, but a local install. This could be done off of a USB drive, with the one caveat that perhaps the data wouldn't be stored as easily until we work through. But this is actually going to push the data out to an SQL server, which you can either use or don't use. But the fact that you are collecting the data it's giving you more to potentially deal with, especially if we're talking in general about assessment here. All right, so I hear a lot of y'all are math people, so hopefully you'll do well. What picture looks most like that symbol pi? Now, what I'm laying out here is what I haven't done, and I'm not going to do that today, is the fact that there's going to be some basic coding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or A, B, C, and that would probably have some code out over here. There's all kinds of ways to do it, but let's just talk about the alpha being 1, gamma being 2, theta being 3, pi being 4, beta being, that was theta, beta being 5, psi being 6, omega being 7, phi being 8, and omega being also 9, it would appear. So I got 2 omegas in there. All right, so let's go to the hint, and this is going to be kind of key as you're trying to maybe perhaps develop students' ability to, I don't know, to take tests maybe. I like a hint. So the hint, obviously someplace in the hint I've taken out 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the equation. I like another hint. In fact, if you need this last hint, you wouldn't really know it. But if I go at I'd like another hint, the picture you want is number 4. So generally the rule when you're developing these exercises is that you always give the student the final answer in the end, that they can just type it in. Obviously we could use check boxes, we can do all kinds of things, but you're going to see sometimes it's just a little bit easier just to deal with training students just to put a number if it's consistent instead of a set of choices. Of course it would be A, B, C, D. 6 choices, 9 choices. I think laying this out with something in the center for Paul Lind, the center of Hollywood Squares. If you don't know who Paul Lind is, look it up. But the answer here is 4. I hit 4 here, I hit the check the answer, and then look, once again, this stuff is sending a lot of data there. What my answer was, the time it took me to do it, 438 seconds, I think, or milliseconds. There's data that is in all of these things. You realize that the name here, measuring angles, is also incorrect because I haven't cleaned up the file, but you're going to save all this data out. All right, so now let's look at what went into building that, and this is the crux of this. I'm going to go ahead and slide up here, if I can, a HTML file that built this. And it's built based on a format that Ben Kamens and John Resig under the direction of Sal Khan and have built, and they've made it open source. I think it's under an MIT license. So what does this do? it's a basic format that's going to look similar to the first thing we did. In this case, there's not so much building going on as much as organizing pictures. So it goes through and it gives a title to the exercise. Most of this is just pro forma. Here you see in the variables, I am actually telling it immediately that it's number 4. So later on you could be randomizing that. Most often you might have a number of variables up here. You could have a choice, this or that. And you'll see there are testing engines will always have all this great abilities, but what we're trying to do is trying to stay within the open source. That would be my suggestion for people going into this world, staying within the open source, and this is open source. All right, so what this then does, it goes through and develops something called a graphy or a local graph. It's using a JavaScript program called Raphael. That's what this is built on. Again, open source. And so what it's going out and doing, and it's going and finding pictures 1 through 9, which are alpha, and this is now you see alpha, I got something mislabeled, but I've given names and they reside in a particular spot. The ability looks like it is there to put them out to, so it goes out and looks on the web. So that would be an interesting tweak that we'll look at later, whether it can actually not build from local, but build from the web. And what's the key to here of all this is, in fact, the solution there you see. The solution is going to grab the variable select, which was what you defined here. So the solution is going to know that the answer is number 4. And what you see after this then is, in fact, the first hint crosses out, right, using this cross 1, 3, 5, and 7, or wherever you want it to be. It could be randomized to take sums that weren't the correct answer, obviously. And then the second hint crosses out the other ones that are wrong. And the last hint is the picture you want is number select. So you're going to see realistically, as you get dealing with scribbling on, hopefully on some sort of pen interface like a bamboo tablet and some programs, hopefully you'll use the open source availability of not Camtasia, but Smooth Draw 3.0 that Sal Khan uses out there. You start to build a community out there of open source people in education that are in and out of the system, parents, and more importantly, perhaps students that then can start developing these exercises, and then teachers and the like can winnow them. You can decide which ones to use, but this act of building legacy is something that Alan November talks about this summer at the Intel Ideas Jam, where he talked about education. So that's the kind of basic format here, and you can think of right now how quickly you could take this basic template with very little HTML experience and just kind of change some names, give it 9 different pictures, go out and find on the web, and build a quick set of exercises that really are a little bit more visual than purely the numeric here. I am basing some of this work in my unemployed state on the fact that I'm not doing what Khan Academy is doing. They've got a set of people out there that really know what they're programming, but they're set on a path for the short term. And my kids probably won't get to take advantage of it by the time some of the stuff is done. So I want to really do my small share and part to provide this tool or expose people to how easy it is. So I will be keeping track of on a regular basis of what Khan does in terms of updates and the like, but I'm premising this on the fact that you'll be running this either off of a USB drive or probably off of a local install, like Moodle or something like that. We'll see how that goes and how Khan morphs going forward. But that basically is what that looks like. And finally, in my last seconds, I'm going to show you then what the program that basically, this is a function call here. Just so you know, this function call is calling a function called import picture. And that imported picture has 5 inputs. One is the name of the picture and a particular directory. One is the center of the picture. This is stolen from a radius kind of circle idea. One is the scale, and one is the X and the Y. Thanks for listening.